Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, a quick update on goings on in Nigeria. The elections has been cancelled, as you all know by now, and I have been following developments all day. I watched the press briefing or the explanation that the INEC chairman gave, Mahmood Yakubu. So he had a session with all the stakeholders, which was televised live, and I watched it. I also watched his press conference as well. I've also been gauging the reactions of pretty much everybody just to see what the feel and the mood is. And really, this is my reading. So like I said, I've been monitoring the public press pronouncement of Professor Mahmood Yakubu since this story broke, and what has emerged, what I have been able to gather from what he has said, because there's not a lot of sense in what he did have to say, but what I've been able to gather was that they were not able to sufficiently get all of their materials in place to conduct an election, and they did not want to stagger the elections because they wanted the elections to take place at the same time. So now, this is a very funny thing, because it was a question and answer session that I watched where he attempted to give an explanation, and a lot of questions were asked, and he tried to answer in his own usual cock-handed way. So what emerged was that the first thing that was established, that the reason for the postponement was not because of security reasons. So we cannot blame it on the security apparatus. There was no security advice, as we had in 2015. So the second reason is he claims there was no political leanings, that nobody leaned on him politically. So that's been discounted as well, at least according to him. So what it now narrows down to is a decision that he is alleging that he took out of the findings that he found, and that was the situation that was presented to him, and that was the only viable option that was available. So he's now putting it on logistics and being able to get materials in place and not wanting to have the election staggered. Okay, so now another one of the questions that was asked him is that, is there sufficient funding in place to postpone the elections by a week and then still have all of the movements of the functions that they have for today to repeat in another week? And he said yes. So he said there's no worries there. So those were his words. So there's plenty of funding. I think it's 170 something billion that they've thrown at this election. So there's a huge amount of money thrown into this thing. So now, so there's no monetary impediment, there's no security impediment, and he's claiming that there's no political leaning. But he is now claiming that there's a logistical problem that has necessitated these elections being postponed. So how is this a possibility? How is this possible? Now, there's a central bank office and a central bank vault in all of the federating states of this country. So just bear that in mind. Of Nigeria, I mean, there's a central bank office and a central bank vault in all of the federating states of Nigeria. So now he's saying that they could not get the materials in place in time, and they've had 4 years to build up to this. Then the only logical thing that you'd have to think is, why did you not have the materials at the state where they would be needed, locked up in the central bank vault of that state to be distributed on the day of need? It's only really reason and logic, because he has said there's no funding issues and there's no security issues. So if he has plenty of funding to move materials around, and if the security apparatus of the country has been made available to him to secure the movement of these electoral materials, then what reasoning is there for him to wait to the very last minute to then try and be distributing electoral materials from Abuja, in a country that has no infrastructure, that he knows has no infrastructure, only then to then blame it on the materials not being able able to get there in time rather. So really, this seems to me a very weak and a very feeble excuse, and all of the precursors that he has described does not lend itself to the reason that he has given, because the precursors are that there's a security issues. He said that's not a problem. Funding, he said that's not a problem. Political leaning, he said that's not a problem. So now the only problem then is down to competency, and this is not even really an issue of competency, because you don't really need any degree of competence to know that you have to have the materials in place so that they can be distributed very, very quickly on the day that they are needed. They don't even need to be distributed quickly. They just need to be distributed routinely on the day of need so that they can go carry out their function. So for you now to be saying that, on the eve of the election is the day that you are now looking to distribute materials, and they got caught up in the infrastructural deficit of the country, and therefore you were not able to transit materials in time in a way that would not necessitate having to stagger the election. I think that is the poorest excuse known to mankind. That is poor beyond belief. If a from 5-year-old boy came up with that excuse, the teacher will flog him. It's just ridiculous. So now this is not really a viable excuse. So it then lends itself really to conspiracy theory, because what is that saying? If all possibilities are no longer possible, then the improbable is probable. I've not said that right, but I'm sure you get the gist. So this is an improbable reasoning, which then lends itself to speculation that there's something else that is beyond this that is not being said. And this is really what some of the commentators are also hinting at as well, because the reasoning and the reason is so ridiculous and so fanciful, and because there's no justification for it, especially when you say the fundings are in place, and you see the security staffing that you need to secure the things are in place, and the terrain, so you know that there's need to move these things to be in place so that everything runs smoothly. That is exactly the job that's been given you. And then you are saying he said they were still confident. This is what this Mahmood Yakubu fella said. He said they were still, because they asked him, why did you wait till 2:30 a.m. in the morning to then announce in the dead of night when people will be asleep? So you announce in the dead of night to hide away in the shadows like a thief, so he announced in the dead of night. So why did you announce it in the dead of night? He said, well, up to that point they were still confident that things could be done, because up till Thursday, when they were interviewed, they were saying everything is in place and it will run smoothly. So how can everything be in place and it will run smoothly on Saturday, on Thursday, and by Friday things are so out of place that nothing can be done? It's a leap of faith to believe this ridiculous thing that this idiotic fella is trying to serve up to Nigerians. So really, the jury is still out there. They are asking us to suspend disbelief, but we cannot suspend the disbelief, because this is yet another assault on the psyche of the Nigerian people. No wonder Nigerians are a bit funny in the head when they are continuously being served with this sort of ridiculousness. The sort of ridiculousness that Nigerian psychological mindset is being served is enough. It goes a long way to explain the mindset or the sort of craziness that goes on in that place. They've completely debased the place, and this is one of the ways that they used to do it. So this ridiculous, idiotic person called Mahmood Yakubu is now trying to serve us a dummy, a fool's gold. He's trying to use abracadabra, Professor Pella, Babi Magbabi, and all that. This is JJ Okocha dribbling. That this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. But is he going to allow to get away with it? I don't think so, because he will get away with it in the interim, but he will not get away with it in the long run, because no matter how much money they've given him to do this, his name is now mud. So I'll leave it here, and we'll continue this conversation in the comment section. I'll keep you updated as the story continues to unfold. So I'll leave it here. Meet you in the comment section. I'll say Peace.
Missing someone.